The Tower of Glass. The apex tower was 80 stories of pure ambition poured in concrete and wrapped in reinforced glass. It stood as the most technologically advanced and expensive office building in the entire hemisphere. For Victor Markov, the head of a massive development empire, this skyscraper wasn't just an asset. It was his personal monument, a golden ticket into the club of the true masters of the city. Tomorrow, representatives from international banks, tech giants, and wealthy investors from Abu Dhabi would gather here to sign lease contracts that would make Victor one of the richest men on the continent. It was supposed to be his absolute triumph. But for Andrew, the lead systems architect, the apex looked entirely different. Where the world saw prestige, Andrew saw 2 million lines of custom code. It was code he had spent the last 2 years writing while practically living in the building's server rooms. This software controlled everything: the air circulation, the temperature in every single climate zone, the high-speed elevator shafts, the biometric security protocols, and even the water pressure on the highest floors. Victor Markov thought he had built a fortress of glass. Andrew knew that this fortress was held together entirely by his digital skeleton. And that skeleton was waiting for its master's command. Chapter 2. The Cost of Arrogance. Less than 24 hours remained before the grand opening. All systems were calibrated, tests were passed, and international auditors had already signed off on the safety protocols. Victor Markov sat in his luxurious office on the 79th floor, surrounded by panoramic views and designer leather furniture. Across the polished wooden desk sat Andrew, wearing his usual casual hoodie. Between them lay the final contract for the completion of the project. Victor didn't look like a man who was about to pay what he owed. Instead, he flashed the smug smile of a predator who believed his prey had nowhere left to run. He casually pushed the document across the desk. Looking closely, Andrew saw that his promised bonus and his share of the long-term service contract had been crossed out. In their place was a figure nearly 10 times smaller. "You have to understand, Andrew," Victor said, his voice smooth and patronizing. "The market has changed. Construction costs went up and we have to optimize our budget. Be grateful your name is even on the press release. Just sign it. You got your salary, and bonuses are something you need to sacrifice for the greater good." Victor was entirely confident. The building was done, the code was uploaded to the mainframes, and the servers were running perfectly. Why pay millions to an engineer whose job was already finished? Andrew didn't argue or raise his voice. He simply closed the folder, looked Victor in the eye, and quietly pulled out his smartphone. Without saying a word, he stood up and walked toward the exit. "You're making a mistake, Andrew," Victor called out to his back. "Tomorrow, people who could buy and sell you are coming here. If you try to sabotage my opening, I will destroy you." Andrew stopped at the door, turned around, and said softly, "I don't need to break anything, Victor. I'm just taking what belongs to me." Andrew walked out of the glass doors into the cool night air, got into his car, and opened a custom app on his phone. There was only one button flashing on the screen: Revoke Developer License. He tapped it. Chapter 3. The Concrete Trap. By 10 o'clock the next morning, the Grand Plaza outside the Apex Tower was a sea of luxury limousines, flashing cameras, and expensive tailored suits. The city's top investors, foreign dignitaries, and journalists had all arrived to witness the unveiling of the 80-story miracle. Victor Markov stood in the center of the massive, sunlit atrium, holding a glass of champagne and basking in the compliments of his wealthy guests. He wanted to show off, leading a delegation of prominent investors over to a sleek, wall-mounted touch panel. He announced that with a single tap he could adjust the climate and lighting across any floor in the entire building. He pressed his palm against the glass. But instead of a beautiful interface, the screen flickered, died for a second, and displayed a single line of text on a dark background. "License revoked by developer. System reverted to basic emergency lockout. Victor offered a tight, forced smile, laughing it off as a minor glitch. But as he tried to refresh the screen, the soft, ambient hum of the ventilation system overhead completely stopped. A heavy, dead silence fell over the massive atrium. A second later, it was shattered by a deep, metallic grinding sound echoing from the core of the building. All 40 high-speed elevators had automatically locked in place, clamping down their emergency brakes. "What is going on?" Victor hissed to his head of security, who had rushed over, his face pale. "Victor, we're locked in," the man whispered. "The main computer has completely isolated the tower. Every smart lock on the emergency exits is frozen shut. The climate control is offline. The temperature on the upper floors is already spiking, and the backup generators won't start. They can't even see the grid without Andrew's custom protocols." Andrew hadn't sabotaged the skyscraper. He hadn't hacked it or destroyed a single piece of hardware. He had simply walked away and taken his intellectual property with him. Without his digital signature, the brilliant multi-billion-dollar tower instantly turned into nothing more than a giant, suffocating concrete safe. And inside that safe were the people who controlled half the wealth in the city, breathing in air that was rapidly running out. Chapter 4. The Price of an Apology. Panic didn't take long to set in. Within an hour, the glass palace turned into a hot, stuffy greenhouse. The elite guests, sweating through their expensive suits, were demanding answers as security guards desperately tried to smash through the reinforced, blast-proof glass doors with fire extinguishers, only to realize the building had been engineered too well. Nothing could break them from the inside. Victor's in-house IT team was in a state of absolute meltdown in the server room. They were trying to bypass the lockout, but Andrew's architecture was an interconnected web. Bypassing the climate control triggered a lockdown on the water lines. Trying to force the elevators threatened to wipe the main database entirely. "It's a proprietary encryption," the lead IT manager told a sweating, furious Victor. "We can't crack this in days, let alone hours. The person who wrote this built a digital wall, and he's the only one with the key." With the foreign investors threatening lawsuits that would bankrupt his entire empire by nightfall, Victor's arrogance completely vanished. His hands shook as he dialed Andrew's number. Andrew answered on the fourth ring, the background noise suggesting he was calmly sitting in a quiet coffee shop. "Andrew, listen to me," Victor stammered, his voice cracking. "We had a misunderstanding. The budget. I found a way to resolve it. Your full bonus is being wired to you right now. Just turn the systems back on." The price went up, Victor. Andrew's voice was perfectly calm, contrasting sharply with the screaming alarms audible through Victor's phone. "The original bonus was for my work. The price now is for saving your empire from collapsing before noon. It's 5 times the original amount. And I want the contract for the lifetime maintenance of the Apex signed, scanned, and sent to my email in the next 10 minutes. Victor didn't hesitate. He signed the paperwork with a trembling hand on the hood of a security desk, authorized the massive wire transfer, and sent the email. Exactly 3 minutes later, a soft hum echoed through the building. The ventilation kicked back to life. Cool air flooded the stiffly NG atrium, and the elevator doors slid open with a gentle chime. The digital skeleton of the building had returned to life. Victor Markov saved his opening day, but everyone in that room knew the truth. The billionaire didn't own the skyscraper. The man holding the phone did. Ouch, RO. Victor Markov managed to save his opening day, but the illusion of his absolute power was shattered forever. The billionaires and investors left the tower that evening, knowing one simple truth: you can own the concrete, you can own the glass, and you can buy the land, But in the modern world, if you don't own the code, you are just a guest in your own empire. Victor paid every single cent, and Andrew's company now completely manages the digital life of the Apex Tower. As for Victor, he never skips a bonus payment anymore. He learned the hard way that some people are just too expensive to cheat. What would you do if you were in Andrew's shoes? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to hear more stories about corporate arrogance meeting ultimate workplace karma, don't forget to check out the next video on your screen right now. See you there.